Hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome to another show of the Fuel by Generosity podcast. I am Rich, founder and chief generosity officer for Generosity Global. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Having another amazing guest who is joining me today. It's going to be an amazing conversation with the hopes of inspiring you all to do great things in your local community. As you all know, the Fuel by Generosity podcast was simply designed as a way to bring our supporters, our partners, our donors closer to the mission of Generosity Global, to get you closer to behind the scenes, to know everything that's going on, so you can get used to all that we are doing from our local mission here in America, where we are serving the homeless, as well as serving the homeless food every second Saturday. We have a big event next weekend, Selfless Christmas Eve. That is our 10-year anniversary. We're going to talk more about that as the week leads up to Selfless Christmas Eve. But Generosity Global was birthed from the first Selfless Saturday event. And ever since then, we've been going, and we've been growing. And after that, we added another component to our mission, which is to provide a safe, clean, nice, unique place for our homeless brothers and sisters to take a shower in. So we built Generosity Shower, and Generosity Shower just completed its second season. And between two seasons, we have given over 5,000 showers. Amazing. And have transformed the lives of people who need a place to shower, and they need a job, and they need to smell good, and they need to feel good about themselves. We have helped restore dignity to many people in the Baltimore community. So we are very happy about the impact that we are having locally, but also our impact internationally, providing and bringing clean drinking water to people in communities in sub-Saharan Africa. We have been working in Cameroon, as well as soon to do our first water project in Kenya. And over the last 6 years, Generosity Global has worked to bring clean drinking water to nearly 40,000 people in Cameroon. And we are just getting started. We just finished up our Mission Ball fundraising gala and the Buy the Rig campaign. As we stand, we have raised nearly $114,000 that is geared towards buying our first drilling rig, which will help us exponentially increase our impact, help us to reach more people, help us to serve and impact more lives. So that's what we do as Generosity Global in this organization. That's what we do. But this show was designed to highlight people in the community, locally, internationally, who are using the power of generosity, who are using their leadership skills to better the lives of people in the community and better the lives of those who are in need. And today's guest is, one of those individuals who has been put in a place to lead in a manner that uplifts and changes the lives of people who are experiencing homelessness. And so welcome to the stage. I'll say the stage, or welcome to the Fuel by Generosity podcast, Dana Macena, who is the executive director for the Dwelling Place. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all the goodness we have going on and at the Dwelling Place. And
it's all about the goodness. And as we say, this show was designed, will be designed to highlight not just what Generosity Global is doing, but also highlight what people like yourselves and other great individuals are doing around the community that is improving the condition of lives for people that we may never meet. At the same time, I always believe that people will, not everybody will be passionate about what we're doing at Generosity Global, but they may find interest in what somebody else is doing. So hopefully my My goal and our goal today is somebody will be connected to the dwelling place and have this burning desire to want to do more, to want to help you, to move the organization, to move your vision forward. So let's get into it, Dana.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Let's tell the people who you are. For those who do not know you, go all in. Who is Dana?
Who is Dana? Wow. For some reason, I knew you were going to ask that very broad question.
Yes.
um, so who is Dana? Well, where should I start? I grew up. Let me just start with how the dwelling place, what it means to me, and how I got here, right? So I grew up with my mother and my sister. My sister and my mother. And my mother is she's from Berlin, Germany. She moved here with my father, who was in the military. And after having she was 9 months pregnant with me. My sister was 9 years old. She was 9 months pregnant with me, and let's just say their marriage was toxic. So she had to remove herself from that environment. And she was, the only white lady on our street of DC in the 80s. So with a biracial child. So, she was very strong. She's a very strong woman. So I get a lot of my strength from her, but she moved beyond there to safety, and she found a family that would allow her to nanny for them, and so she did that for a little while, and I was an infant, and we lived with the family for a little bit, and so she never really had a place to live herself for a period of time. So, to learn that my mother was homeless for a period of time while she was pregnant with me, wow, and with a 9-year-old child in a country that was not her own, it's just, it changes your whole foundational beliefs of, generosity and giving and duty, right? So moving forward, she would have 3 jobs. She would, she worked, and she was educated. She's a mechanical electrical designer by. Whoa. Yeah, so she's designed, engineered things, right? But she had to learn the English words for what she learned in Germany, right? So that kind of ties into the dwelling place as well, as I'll mention later. But so she moved beyond that family eventually, moved into an apartment in Frederick, where I grew up, and we slept in a 1-bedroom apartment. And my mom and I slept on a twin-size bed in the dining room. So I remember, living in this environment, and I remember also having my own level of food insecurity at the time, right? So, there was only a can of green beans in the cabinets, and I remember, churches and different organizations and friends that she would meet along the way donating food to us, and she would skip meals to make sure we had, right? So that resilience that she built up over time, it just was even more inspiring for me to give back, right? So and then eventually she bought she moved beyond there. She upgraded her apartment. She moved on up. She went to, educational workshops and programs, and she went back to school and learned what she studied, and learned it in English rather. And then, she was able to secure a job in her field eventually, and she bought a house, and she put her kids, I went to college, and, so she has 2 successful children now, and she did all that hard work. And what's interesting is that she actually worked in Montgomery County, which is where the dwelling place was located, right, during this time that I was growing up. And the dwelling place was founded in 1988. So I was only born in 1987. But to think that an organization like this would have changed my mom's entire trajectory, is just, even more of a full circle story, right? So
Yeah.
I just now today I lead with a passion and a purpose. I didn't always work in the nonprofit sector, so I came from the for-profit industry. I used to work in property management and leased, luxury apartments in DC and in downtown Silver Spring. And I used to work for an HOA management company, but now I'm like officially secured in my purpose and my walk of life, and I feel I'm completely full circle.
It's something beautiful about living in purpose, on purpose, and living in, this world where that I was put in this planet to do this. Is that the feeling you get now that you in the role and the capacity in which you serve?
Oh, absolutely. I actually, for a period of time in 2000, before I started in this position in 2019, I took about 7 months off of work and stayed home with my kids. And that was my incubation period for me to like decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to jump back in and go get another job that I just, is just going to pay the bills and, or am I going to live in my passion and in my purpose, and I always had the belief. I mean, if you go back to my college years when I mentored some new students, I said, what would you do for the rest of your life for free? And they're like, I wouldn't do anything for free. And obviously they weren't digging deep enough, because the point was, what could you do for free? It could be as simple as helping people. You could say that simple line of saying, I would just help people, right? Okay, right. Let's dig deeper now. What would you do beyond that? So, I always led with that. I felt like, I have to help. And however I can utilize my skills and my experiences to leverage helping people, I will do that.
That's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing as beautiful as living a life on purpose and knowing that, and I guess this will, we can segue into you talking about the purpose in which you find yourself being the executive director of the dwelling place, and, how that interconnects, and how your work and your commitment and your passion leads to life being, lives being changed and lives being transformed. But I was, given that backdrop to say, a life of purpose allows you to feel connected to the fabric of our society. It allows you to feel as though that your work matters. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I feel like this, I mean, I can't honestly say that, it was by happenstance that I secured this position. And, I guess I was just meant to be in this position. But, I loved my previous job, what I did and where I worked and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, it's my, and sorry, I have dogs in the background.
Don't worry, they're welcome on the show too. Don't worry, they're just trying to be on the show.
I worked in this great community in Gaithersburg, and I worked as their communications and events director, and I planned all their events for their kids and for their families and their community, and it was just a beautiful thing. I got to meet so many cool people there, and my entire life, I never was of the belief of like my network really did much for me, but I can honestly say there are some beautiful people in that community, and they loved me and they loved on me, and they still love on me to this day. And I just appreciate every last one of them. And they were able to see the heart in what in my goals. I expressed to a few folks that I wanted to give back. I hadn't done a lot of volunteer work through my 20s. I did a lot when I was younger, in my teens and stuff like that. But I became a mother and a parent and trying to, move up, that I didn't have time. So then I got to this point where it's like, okay, I'm willing to, take this time now, and I need to find an organization that I'm going to support. So, and this is the type of organization I want to support. And one of the residents there, they were like, I got the perfect place for you, And at first it was going to start out as a volunteer thing, and then it turned into a blossoming position. So I can't say that I am, a career nonprofit executive director, but what I can say is I have the passion to do the job, and I have the drive to get it done. And I think that's what matters sometimes. It's not about that. Most nonprofits start from the ground up, right?
So trust me,
you relate. You relate.
I know a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Welcoming everybody who's joining us, who's just joining us. I am having an amazing conversation right now with Dana Macena, who is the executive director for the Dwelling Place, a nonprofit that's based in Montgomery County, and they serve people who are in the homeless community. They help them with housing. They help them with continual services that will make their lives much, much better. So if you're joining us, thank you for joining us today. If you're watching and you want to leave a comment, make sure you're watching on the Generosity Global page or the Fuel by Generosity podcast page. I can see those comments. I can put them on the screen. Make sure you share the podcast, share the show. Leave us some loves. We kind of like loves. We love being loved, so we want to give the love back. But at the end of the day, we just hope you enjoy the show. So Dana, how did you end up being an executive director, and what does the role of an ED, as that's nonprofit term, ED, what does that role entail? What does that role entail for you?
So how did I end up here? I've always strived to be a leader in any role or capacity. That kind of rubbed the wrong way in the corporate world, in the for-profit world, because I'm a free thinker.
I know, right? Which you don't mesh well in that kind of.
I'm a free thinker. I ask why. I ask questions. I'm very inquisitive. So you can't lead me astray. And it was it's a perfect position type for me. But as far as the as to answer your question about like the role and the capacity, what does it take to be an ED? Gosh, I jumped into this, heels first, and I guess I didn't expect all that I was going to endure, but we're a small organization. We're a 4-person staff, and we serve 25 families right now. And so being able to support 25 families with a 4-person team is like remarkable. We actually went through a few struggle years in the past, like 2 years ago, with funding and stuff, with federal funding. So when I came on board, we were at a downsized point. So now I am the sole person that does all things, administrative, finance, grant writing, marketing. I do all those things, all the things. So all the hats.
don't give them the roughs of that nonprofit.
Yeah, who does that? Who does all the things?
Can't you hire somebody to do all of that stuff as a nonprofit person?
Oh yeah, I would love to hire some people, but the problem is that it costs. And so people want to get paid.
Funding is limited.
Right. Funding is limited. And let me just tell you, it's so difficult in the type of work that we do because, our impact is a little different, right? So our impact is a little slower in the sense that, we don't just, we have the, teach a man to fish philosophy. Philosophy. So, we work with the families over a longer period of time to get those results so that they never revert back to homelessness, right? So A little bit of a slower impact cycle. However, there's some families that are great at moving on, but yeah, doing all the things makes it really tough to say, hey, like we really need, as you all use the terminology, fuel to fuel the overhead and the indirect costs and to pay your people well,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
To
Yeah.
value them.
Yeah,
And with them,
we're gonna come back to that paying your people well thing because I think
yeah,
it's important, and I think as nonprofit leaders, we know exactly what that term means. But let's pause on that. But let me jump on. Tell us about the dwelling place. Tell us about this amazing organization that you lead. Tell us
yeah.
about the work that you do and exactly how you serve these families.
Absolutely. So the dwelling place was founded in 1988 by a few volunteers that just felt, of course, there was a need to develop a program to support families. So we support families of Montgomery County. We provide them with housing and supportive services in the form of financial workshops, life skills workshops, career and educational advancement opportunities. And every now and then, if they need emergency assistance, like a water bill, some help with a water bill or something like that, we will assist them with those things. But like going back to that teach a man to fish philosophy, we strongly believe in, we help them, learn those habits that they need to have long term so that they never revert back to being homeless, right?
Yeah.
So just for some folks who may not understand the difference between like what we do or what other organizations do, I always explain it in a level of like in stages, right? So you have your homeless that are in stage 1 where they're out in the elements, right? And then you have stage 2 where they are probably in a temporary shelter or communal shelter of some sort. So they're typically there for about 30 to 90 days. And then at that point, they will then DHHS will reach out to us and say, hey, is there an agency that has the capacity to serve a family in a program? And we'll say, hey, yeah, absolutely we do. So we will go look for housing for them.
Mm.
And we use the scattered site style of housing where, our families are all over the county. And at that point, they move in. We set up goal plans with them. We make sure that their children are attended to. So we make sure that they go to their counseling, parent-teacher conferences. It's remarkable what our case managers do. But yeah, we do all of those things, and it's really impactful work, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yes, I mean it's the cycle sometimes can be vicious, especially with people who are experiencing those who are transitioning, because there's that cycle where people are either transitioning in, people
Mhm.
are transitioning out,
Mhm.
and the main objective, if I understand, is what can we do to make sure that they don't fall back into that cycle, right?
Yeah.
What can we do as leaders, as an entity, as an organization to give, as you said, teach a man to fish, like give them the tools that will enable them to continue their journey out of homelessness. But in doing that, I'm sure, because I've experienced it, there's always that setback,
Yeah.
always, that challenge where that family or that individual, regresses.
Mm.
Have you had situations like that, and how? What advice do you have to give to others in the community who are trying their best to help somebody, but that person may not necessarily be in a place to receive all the help and cannot move forward as fast as we want them to move forward? What can you say on that?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm still learning on that.
Yeah.
But as far as my case managers, they excel at that. And I would say that, even like right now with COVID, our families, we are trying to prevent regression. Like that is our 100% goal right now, is to not allow COVID to undo all of the progress that our families have made pre-COVID, right? So making sure that they're stable and making sure their mental health is good. You know, at one point in time, like I said, we were focused on how can we level you up, right? You know, how can we put you on that other level of Maslow's hierarchy of, you know, thinking, right, of needs rather,
Right.
and, you know, level you up. But now COVID, it has, you know, put us in a place of, hey, I need food, I need make sure my housing is stable, I lost my job, I'm financially insecure right now, and how can I move on? And then mental health starts to deteriorate, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now we are working with organizations to ensure that our families are getting the mental health support that they need, and that's the start. You know, making sure that they are mentally stable and healthy to receive the information that you're giving them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, can they build habits? Can they receive the information of, you know, well, you need to do this, you need to save money, you need to pay off this debt? I mean, can they receive that right now? Probably not, you know. So how can you got to meet people where they are, you know.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I think regression, sometimes it's just one of the hardest things to deal with, especially as a care provider, somebody who is on that front line, like you believe you're doing everything you can to help this person move forward. But one thing I've come to realize is a lot of individuals have their own time frame, and no matter how much we do, sometimes is people are not ready until they are mentally ready to make
Mm-hmm.
that switch goes off. They are mentally prepared to take that step forward, to make that move, to say, you know what, enough is enough. I want better for my life. And and mental illness, the mental illness is just another case where mental health, mental illness, mental height, it's just a different level of care that is involved. And I can just imagine how much families have had to deal with, especially pre-COVID. You were already dealing with financial hardships, you were dealing with unemployment, underemployment, you were dealing with not being able to secure a place to stay. And then comes bam, COVID, and adds to that shuts down everything. And now you have families that are going to, like, I'm sure that you are stretched to an extent, just trying to manage all these things for these individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough because their needs have changed, right? A little bit. So just pivoting, changing. I mean, that's the word of the year, pivot.
David, yeah.
Pivot. I mean, so you know, you just got to change. You got to be flexible with them. And one of the things that why we're so unique is that we actually create tailored plans for our families. So, you know, it's not a cookie cutter, you know, okay, we met with you and we met with you one time this month, or we met with you and we heard from you, right? And that's it. No, it's like we keep track of them. I mean, one of the case managers, I mean, her family, the head of household, she has a child, because everyone at least has to have one dependent in our program. And he's school age, and she doesn't speak adequate English to support her child right now during distance learning. So my case manager has had to download all the apps to make sure for the school, for the resources, to communicate that to the parent and to the child. So you know, making sure that the child is aware of his assignments, you know,
Mm, mm,
and communicating that to him. So it's down to that. It's down to that level of nitty gritty. You know, we're in the trenches with these families.
yeah.
And you know, another thing that I would just like to mention is that compassion fatigue. I mean, I didn't know what that was until I got here, you know, and yeah, compassion fatigue, and it sets in. And now I'm not there yet. But my case managers, you know, they're, like I said, they're in the trenches with the families. And one case manager can have up to 10 to 15 families. So just think, she has her own personal you know, issues or challenges to
Challenges.
deal with, and now she's dealing with like 10 other families or so. that makes it very complex. So over time, you have to make sure you take care of your case managers, take care of them, like love on them, always ask them, like, what do you need? How can I help you today?
Yeah.
What can I do as your ED, like to help you as your teammate? What can I do? So I always have team meetings and make sure that I ask them what they need from me and how I can help.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it definitely. I believe, our, team members are so important to the overall vision, the overall mission, and this brings us back to, making sure that they are compensated fairly, right?
yeah,
I always say, just because they work in a nonprofit doesn't mean that we pay them any less. We pay people any less. I believe if they bring the skills that are competitive, that if they took, because the reality is they can take that same skill set and go to corporate America and make so much money. Why? But they just want to be aligned to a mission that is bigger than themselves. So why should we punish them for
right.
making that choice, for wanting to come work for nonprofits? And I think nonprofits themselves need to change that mindset, right? The
Absolutely.
leadership of nonprofit needs to change that mindset, that when we are seeking funding and all these things, we need to build into our budgets. We need to build into our asks that these are the people that allow for the impact to happen. These are the people that allow for the work to get done. So as leaders and as funders, we need to take their needs into consideration. It's not just about, let's take care of the executive director and then figure out the rest of the people, but let us really invest in our people. Let us give them the fuel that they need, because burnout is real, the financial needs are real, and the competitive needs are real. Because the reality is, if you're paying somebody $20,000-$30,000 less, and a competitor can pluck them and say, look, we can give you $30,000 for the same job that you are doing, and guess what? As an organization, you just lost an MVP because you did not have $20,000 in your budget to
Yeah.
to staff your people. Can you talk about this, speak more on that?
Oh, absolutely. One of the first things that I looked at when I started was, how large is the staff, and what is the work that we do? What is it that we are, where are my key links, right? Like if I lost one of these links, where would we be? Because we were in a very, very, you know, iffy situation with when our federal funding, because the federal changes to how they viewed homelessness changed. So
Which
they,
is always funny.
yeah, so they stopped looking at transitional housing as transitional housing, and they start looking at rapid rehousing as, hey, this works. Let's just house them and, help them for this short period of time. And, it works, but we find that a lot of folks are still coming back to programs like ours.
Yeah.
And so as one of the, lone rangers out there still doing this long-term work, we had to make some dramatic cuts, right? So I looked at, okay, what are my most valuable assets and resources right now? And I was always of the belief, having studied some organizational leadership at a master's level, I was like, it's the people. It's the people who work for me. Like, yeah, I got to treat them well. If one of them walked out, if one case manager walked out, I would have 10 families without support.
Yep.
And, so it was imperative that I made sure that, all of my staff had a livable wage.
Yep.
For where they lived, and they were able to, that's one less challenge for them to, worry about, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely. I don't need them worrying about how to pay their bills, and they're trying to help 10 families over here learn how to pay their bills.
Right.
So, that was imperative for me. So I made sure that, all of them were, okay, this is fair. And I think, for me, I'm the leader that would say I get paid last. If the ship started to sink, I would say, okay, well, let me just keep paying you all, and I'll just go find, go into one of my my hustle bag over here and try to find something to make some money.
Absolutely. Now, I think that's the mark of great leaders, right? You realize that you are nothing. We are nothing without our team members, right?
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, yes, we may be at the helm of the organization, but there are these amazing people that work with us, our team members, who do so much for the organization in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, that we can never, I know for one, can never shortchange them for how valuable they are to the
right.
organization. I'm experiencing this beautiful growth with Generosity Global, with the amazing people that we have now on board as part of our team, and it's made life much, let's say, things much easier for me to lead, because I can focus on what I'm good at, casting the vision and
Yeah.
and leading people, while they can focus on their own individual skill sets. It could be graphic design, it could be communications, it could be the grant search or whatever that stuff, which I hate doing. I hate the grants, right?
They
So
take all day.
oh, they take all month.
Right. All day, all month. And then,
Yeah.
but let me just tell you, the most beautiful part of the job is, right now, like we work remotely. So I'll go into the office periodically, and, there was, during the, not to go into politics, but like the political environment when that was going on and everything. And it was just seemed like this dark cloud over the world, right? Every time I went into that office, there were just checks there
Mm.
waiting for me to deposit. And I
I
was
know,
just
right?
like,
I've been there telling, oh snap.
and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this just changed my whole day. Like, it just, you read one bad news article, but then you go there and you're like, there are people that are just so generous in this world, and
Mhm.
they just want to do good, and there's
Yeah,
hope. There's
yeah,
hope,
yeah,
it just recharges you for the next day, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I love it.
Let's talk. I'm going to come back to Sheena's comment about servant leadership, because I think that is the key sometimes to, what we do, and I think that's just one of the most powerful forms of leadership. But let's park that and then come back to, you mentioned about people being generous. Can you talk about the power of generosity and how that has helped fuel the growth, the impact of the work that you do at a dwelling place?
Yeah, absolutely. So the dwelling place, it was really interesting when I first walked in and I just saw all these, people were just dropping donations off, and I felt like it was a very small organization that was just kind of hiding out, and but it's been around for so long that there's so many, long-term donors and supporters that just know about us and they love on us. So just fostering and renewing those connections, reintegrating. But yeah, I mean, we've had organizations, foundations that give to us on a regular basis. Many of the churches in Montgomery County, they give to us as well. Cedar Brook Church in Clarksburg, they are awesome. They actually furnish all of the new rentals for our families. And I'm
Nice.
talking, they go down to, it's so touching because they go down to the level of what each kid enjoys.
Wow.
So we'll say, hey, John loves Spider-Man. They will find Spider-Man sheets and comforter
That's
set and
amazing.
put his name on the wall. So when he walks in, having lived in a shelter, he gets to see his new room.
Mm,
So, they build these spaces for them. And so, kudos to Cedar Brook Church for always, for us. There's so many others to name, the Kentlands Community Foundation. They do so much for us. Absolutely adore that community completely. So they, were beneficiaries of their race, every year, and
yeah.
just fostering those relationships and showing gratitude to them. That's the important
Yeah.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. When people, I always say sometimes you just don't know who's going to show up for you, but when people show up for you, you just say thank you, and you follow up, and the most important thing sometimes is making them know that their investment in the organization was the right thing to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Showing them the impact, giving them a firsthand account of how their donation changed the lives of people, because at the end of the day, we are put in this world to do our part to change the lives of people who are in need. And
Yeah.
general, when we are generous and collect, I love the fact that I love, you say like they go down to as detailed as the Spider-Man. What does a child like? Because that's what it takes sometimes to change a life. That's what it
Yeah.
takes sometimes to transform a family and
Yeah.
give them that hope to believe that they too can rise up out of that position and be great again. So
Mhm.
it is amazing. And that ties, comes back to what I was going to ask you is like, I was going to just ask you like, what are the tenets of being a leader? But I think more so like, talk to us about servant leadership and how you have been able to integrate that in your work and how you use that to inspire your staff, if at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are servants by nature. They're servants as far as like, they give, so well, without even me having been there. I'm sure, I know the previous EDs. I mean, it was easy walking into the team that I walked into because they're so seasoned at what they do.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it was a matter of, creating an environment where I also allowed them to feel empowered
Right.
and feel like they're heard. So that's important as far as, working with a team that serves other people, right? Making
Yeah.
sure that they're valued, making sure that they're um, feel like they can make a difference. For me, it's a matter of, my favorite quote is from Mother Teresa, and I'm not going to read the long quote because it's one of her longest, but it's the "Do Good Anyways" poem.
Yeah.
And it just do good anyways. You might have a bad day, do good
Do good.
anyways. That very next moment, just think of something positive to do, and your whole change, right? And when you do something else for someone else, it changes the way you look at things in that
Yeah.
moment. For yourself, long term, you'll feel better. I mean, it sounds very self-interested, but at the same time, it's like you still made an impact.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Nah.
it doesn't Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think we have like some kind of disconnect, but I think it's working itself out. Yeah, it really comes down to sometimes just, and then that's why we need to, measure ourselves, because we can get lost so much in the doing that. We do experience the compassion fatigue, we experience the empathy fatigue, we experience the generosity fatigue. But at the end of the day, when we show up, because I
Mhm.
believe that we must show up for change to happen, right?
Yeah.
Change just doesn't happen in a vacuum. Somebody has to initiate that. Somebody
Mhm.
has to inspire somebody else to bring about that change. And
Mhm.
so, it's very important that we show up as people, we show up as leaders, we show up as the voices for the voiceless, to give them the tools that they need to become better, to
Yeah.
change their lives. And so, at the end of the day, um, the work the work requires us to show up and do good, no matter,
Yeah.
and sometimes, not even sometimes, as leaders, like you just don't feel like showing up, but you have to, because
Oh, I mean, listen, one of the things I said on a recent post was that, working in a nonprofit brought the whole new meaning to my alarm clock.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, I mean, back when I was like, oh man, I'm like, I have to wake up, I got to commute, because I used to commute all the way from Frederick to downtown Silver Spring, DC sometimes. You know, and now I actually live in Washington County, and I would commute into Montgomery County.
Mhm.
But I did it. I did it anyways,
Yeah,
and I woke up and I was happy to do it. And, I was putting on clothes and I was just like excited because I'm living in my purpose and my passion. And,
yeah,
and where before it's like, oh, I loathe that commute. And so you start thinking about every little detail that you don't like
Yeah.
about something.
Hmm.
And so, I just think I would just love more people to just dig deep and find what they love to do and
Yeah.
what they're passionate about and what makes them happy every single day and go that direction.
Yeah.
And, that's where you can, fulfill yourself, but also serve others, because you'll find that, most of it is going to revert back to helping other people in some
Ab-
capacity.
Nah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I believe in that. I think, once I believe, I mean, in my heart, like I wake up every day knowing that there's a mission to accomplish, right? It's not saying that it doesn't come with its challenges. It's not saying that it doesn't come with its own, headaches and stuff. But
Yeah.
every time we set a mission ahead of us, we know the impact that is going to come. Because for me personally, it's like I play the video of the impact ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
I see the lives that are being impacted. I see the lives that are being changed, and so that is enough to get me going. Because, like I've already played in my head about us, buying this rig and the first time it drills water and all the families that are being impacted. So I've seen that in my vision, and that is what for me drives me, because I know it's just gonna change so many lives. And so, at the end of the day, just being able to have that vision and being able to allow that vision to fuel you each and every day is
Mm,
enough for us to keep showing up, right? Because,
absolutely.
as I was talking to a friend the other day, and the reality is, this is the truth. And then people was like, don't say that. No, this is the truth. Like, nobody owes anybody anything. Like, I don't owe anyone anything. I don't need to, be generous to anybody. But we need to show up, right? We still show up just because. It could be the right thing to do. Some would say it could just be our internal desire to want to do that. But, at the end of the day, we don't owe that to anybody. Um, so as we, look at that, do you have any success stories, or any stories of families that, that you would love to, like to share with us,
Oh,
with your
absolutely.
work? Yeah, want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, actually, one of our clients or family, our former family, she, so her story where, she slipped into homelessness because of her husband. He, got terminally ill with cancer, became terminally ill with cancer, and he actually passed away. And so she had her children. And so she slipped into homelessness because of because of all of that, major wage earner, he's no longer here or working. And, they didn't have the securities in place, I guess, to, keep them stable. Right. And that can
Yeah,
happen to anybody. That can happen to anyone if you're not prepared. Right.
absolutely.
So then she was in our program, and she did very well. So once she graduated, she actually started her own business. She owns her own cleaning company, and
Hey,
so she has her, yeah. And she actually she helps us. And she, we hire her to clean our office space. So she also cleans all of our new apartments before our
nice.
families enter. So, just the fact that she's willing to circle back to us and still work with us and do the things, is just, that's a compliment, right? Like that's where it matters. That's the impact we like to receive.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and yeah, so she bought a house.
nice.
And she's stable, bought a house, business owner. Not everyone's story is the same way. Some folks, they are also, they graduate from college, or they move on and get a nice county job, or state job or something. And there's some stories out there. We also have a story where one of our families, moved on, and they just, they bought a house, of course, things of that sort. It just, they do ordinary things that, we strive for. Like, it's easy. It seems, well, it's hard for us, but at a different pace and level. You're talking about people who have endured like severe trauma from, childhood traumas, or, midlife trauma of some sort, domestic violence or substance abuse, different things. Like, and so to overcome those hurdles and those challenges to get to a point where they can own something on their own, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had, great success. Our families, they circle back to us. We host a picnic, which would normally be in the summertime every year. And we get together and we just have like a family reunion, right? And so some of the families that graduate from our program, they come back too. And, they talk to the families that are in our program and give them hope and inspire them to do better. Or, they just meet up with the case managers, and, we get to see the kids grow up over time and how successful they are. And some of the kids, they'll go to college. And so that's always, a positive impact when you see that, that next generation isn't going to maybe slip into it right away, because there is a point where, okay, well, what's going to happen to that 18-year-old son or daughter when they, are they going to just run off? What are they going to do next? So we love to see students excelling and moving on in a positive manner. So
yeah, I mean, nothing like the success stories, right? I mean, I think, it's like 10 may fail, but that one person that succeeds sometimes is just like enough to push you, to keep you going. And I don't know about you, it's like, people say, what keeps me going personally, or what inspires me? If I'm in Africa sometime, if I'm anywhere in the field and I see that mother who once had to walk 3-4 miles, and they are thanking me for not having to walk that far, or I can just see, they don't even have to thank me. I just know that I see them. They just had to come out of their house, turn the corner, and there's a water point there, and it was that close. Like, seeing the child, like kids always have this thing. They just want to celebrate by the water and drink it and all that stuff, right? Watching those videos over and over again is enough to fill me up to want to go at it again and again. I mean, there's always the other side where there are things where, things don't go as planned. And I think those are also great opportunities for us to learn as leaders to be better and make our organizations and our programs better. But at the end of the day, the lives that we are being able to, change and impact is just beautiful, because it gives us, again, I think, reaffirms our purpose and our meaning, and allows us to know that we're not the crazy ones, right? We chose, this is the right thing. And for me, I live life just knowing that I'm already blessed. I know that because I'm so connected to the work that we do. I'm so connected to the people that we impact. And I'm sure that is the same for you. Just having that connection that makes the work even real. As we come down to the end of the show, talk to us about how, you get funding, how people can support you. What especially now is like a holiday season. I know you have a campaign, like, was it the Adopt a Family campaign? Whatever other campaign can you talk about those things and see how, so we can plug people in and get support to come your way?
Yeah, so we have on our website at tdp-inc.org. We have a holiday giving page there. We have a sponsor a family program where, you can select to sponsor a family or a certain amount of individuals in our program. We do have a need for a few more families to be served. I think it's about 10 more families to be served. We also have a host of benefit options. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, like, what needs do these families have?
Oh, okay. Happens with the sponsor family program. Each family is allowed to have 4 wishes, and each wish, we make sure that they're reasonable wishes. They're not asking for a PS5 or something. So we make sure they're within a reasonable, ask, and then we provide them to the sponsors, and then we make sure they either come wrapped or we wrap them, and then we take them to the families. Like I mentioned previously, we have our families are in scattered sites, so unlike communal shelters where you can typically go and it's like a soup kitchen, or you can go and serve meals and stuff like that. Because we serve families, our families are at scattered locations. They are living in apartment communities or places around the county. So actually visiting them is not really feasible. We also have a host of benefits. So you can, if you're a business owner and you want to host a drive, or you want to host a benefit, like if you have an independent small business or something like that, and, you can the benefit, and a percentage of your profits can go towards the organization. There are links for all of that on our page, tdp-inc.org, and it's in our holiday giving under events. We also have an awesome event that we're doing right now. It's called the Holiday Hustle Virtual Challenge for Families, and it's an 8-week challenge, and there's awesome prizes like a full year of personal training through Phenom Fitness, as well as nutrition supplements. We have Fight Into Fitness also is sponsoring some awesome prizes for the challenge as well. It's 8 weeks. You can choose to run, you can walk, you can bike, you can do a Pilates workout, a HIIT workout, and you can count it for time or distance. And so it's just really to motivate folks to stick to your physical activity over the holidays, keep those calories at bay, and and give back, burn those calories for a good cause, and so that's what we're doing right now. It's an 8-week challenge. And if you need more information on that, that link is also right there on the website under the events. And join us. We have an accountability group and would love to have you all. Anybody who wants to join.
Nice, good stuff. I mean, the website is there, www.tdp-inc.org, the dwelling place inc.org. Make sure you check them out. Follow you. You guys are on Facebook as well, correct? And Instagram.
Yep. We're not on Instagram. I'm sorry. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, but Dwelling Place Inc. Yeah,
Dwelling Place. Make sure you follow them. If you are in Montgomery County and you're looking for a nonprofit organization that serves people in the homeless community, please, look at the Dwelling Place. High level of accountability, high level of transparency. Dana is leading an amazing organization, and her team is transforming the lives of people. And so it doesn't go without, those of us who are able to help financially or with some kind of resource, make sure if that is a cause that speaks to your heart, and you live in that area and look for something local to you, please make sure you visit that website and make an investment in the Dwelling Place. Dana, it's been, 1 hour since we started, and
I can talk to you all day.
I know, man, we can do this all day. Like, we can just chop it up. It's been, I think, when leaders connect, when, EDs, we always say, how can we get better, or how can we get more money, all that stuff, which, we've also talked about, what we're trying to do with Generosity Shop, but we'll leave that out of this conversation. But, at the end of the day, thank you for joining me. But before I let you go, it's been 59 minutes since we've been talking. And we've had, viewers who are viewing you for the first time, or some friends who are joining and watching to support you. What words, what call to action do you have for those who are viewing right now, or those who are going to be listening later on, in terms of going out there and making change happen, going out there and using the power of generosity to do good? What words of wisdom do you have? What call to action do you have for them?
Um, I would say do good anyways. I'm gonna take it straight from Mother Teresa. Do good anyways. Go do it. Find your passion, and just run with it.
Yeah.
Just go out there and dig deep. Figure out what you love, and if you love animals, go help the ASPC. Go help one of these humane societies. At local humane society. Do good anyways. Just go do it. Get the job done, and yeah. And support your friends. Support your friends along the way. If they have a heart and you know that they're genuinely interested in a good cause, support them because that fuels them. So that
I
fuels
love it.
fuels them.
I love it. That is the most brief, yet, I mean, in terms of just a line, do good anyway, yet very powerful, right? We don't need to add to it. It's just do good anyways. It does not need to be a perfect situation. Do good anyways. If it speaks to your heart, do good anyways. If your friend is in it and they ask for your help, do good. And so that, Dana, is so powerful, a perfect way to end the show. Thank you so much for joining me on the Fuel by Generosity podcast. I'm glad we were able to connect. I'm glad our viewers were able to hear from you. Our viewers and our listeners were able to hear and watch this show. And then those who are going to be listening later on, thank you all so much for tuning in today's show. We we are grateful that you chose to spend this 1 hour with us, and hopefully 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 people have been inspired today to go out and support the dwelling place and go out and do good in our community. So Dana, thank you. Appreciate
Thank you.
you. Nah, that's nothing. Happy holidays to you and your team. Merry Christmas. I'm sure we'll talk before all of that stuff. So appreciate you, girl, and have a good one. All right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks.